Hi guys, and welcome to Build by Habit. Thanks for joining me here today, Monday, as we're going to dive into my habits and lessons that I've learned about my fitness and weight loss. So, currently, I'm sitting around 109 kilos, and it's been something that I've been working on for the last few years. Now, at my largest, I was 145 kilos, and we're looking back about 3 years. Now, 30 kilos might not seem like that much in that time. Hell, you might even wonder if I'm even trying. I have been. Just, I've not been consistent. Alright, I'll take you back a little bit, give you a clear picture of what's been going on. So, when I was a child, I moved from being somewhere rural to moving into much more suburban area of Western Australia. And for a kid, it was a big difference. It changed what I had access to. We started having a takeout once a week, maybe twice if I was seeing family. And I went from being out and about in a place where I could wander and wander and wander to somewhere I had more options to start hang around and play video games. Now, that didn't mean I wasn't out and about as a kid. I was. And it really had a combination of things. Like the idea that I just ate junk food. Not so much. Well, kind of was, but there was a lot going on. I was ridiculously fussy as a kid. I would fight and argue and refuse to eat foods that I perceived to be bad. So basically anything good. Now, I can't say I blame my mum. She kind of catered to making sure that I actually ate. And she was doing her best to look after me. She was a single mother. And I had me, my sister, and she did her best. So I don't blame her. I was difficult as hell. Now, in saying that, I also developed a, well, didn't develop, I had a condition where my muscles, especially the ones in my legs, would cramp and I would wake up every night and I would wake everyone else up. I mean, it wasn't something that anyone really had control over. In fact, I was 16 before I was able to find out what it was. And my doctor had been kind of trying to go, well, I think this could be it for years. So that really cut back on my desire to do things I used to, where I used to like to run, I used to like to play a lot of sport, but with the pain, I cut back on that. So I cut back my physical activity. I was eating more junk food. I was not eating anything healthy. I was living off freezer and yeah, nothing great. So by the time I was about 13, 14, I was already 100 kilos. And I gained, kept gaining. I got up to about 124 kilos in high school. And I probably stuck around that weight for nearly 10 years. But don't take changes and everything, I kept climbing after that. When I was about 25 or so, I was in the mid 130s, and by around 29, I was at the 145. I had 3 kids. I realized that while I wasn't suffering any health effects by then, I needed to make a change. I needed to do better before everything started to catch up to me. Now, I had some help. My wife, I mean, she went on and off different kind of diets. I mean, she has bipolar, and the way she changes, the way she tries to do things, is a part of that. But that's inspired me on more than one occasion. At one stage, I actually went vegetarian with her, and it was the first time I actually saw some significant weight loss. I got down to about 110 kilos at that stage. I was only around the mid 120s when I first tried that, but hey, it was progress. I stuck with that for about 9 months. And then after coming back off it, going back to what I used to do, I put it back on and more. So we go forward another 3 or 4 years. I'm at my highest weight. And again, thanks to her, I have the opportunity to do something. She went for a plant-based diet, vegan diet. And yeah, I decided that I was going to do that with her. Now, I was a little reluctant at first, but I decided that I enjoyed the food. I enjoyed cooking, and I made the change. Yeah, I made the change on December 24th. I know, crazy, right? Who does that? The day before Christmas. Me. Yeah, as I said, I was on cooking food, and I've been doing that majorly for the last 5 years by that stage. Now, I love cooking, and that was my biggest advantage in this. I I found that I could cook new foods that I hadn't tried, new flavors. I was more experimental, and I found fun in the food. So, I mean, you might think, can that actually work? And yeah, for me, I felt better after eating plant-based. And so I continued on with it. Now, here's what I learned, what this change had taught me. Now, this isn't something that is just about being plant-based. Don't get me wrong. So, please, listen. I learned that no food is equal. No food is perfect. And, in moderation, most, no, most foods aren't wrong. But it comes down to a few things, especially if you're like me and you just have a habit of going more than what you should. You do need to listen to your body. And that sounds weird because listening to my body is what got me up to 145, right? Fine. I had to teach my body. I had to learn to cut back on those junk foods and introduce whole food. And I can't stress this enough. Whole food makes a difference. Eating proper food. Fine. Having some processed stuff along the way, not the end of the world, but moderation, right? So I taught myself how the whole foods and how more healthy foods, adding quality protein and good fiber into your diet makes a difference. Another thing I learned, and one thing that I can't stress, season your food. Honestly, you don't want it to be bland and you don't want it to be boring. But in saying that, you don't want to make it so tasty that you can't stop. Season it, make it nice, make it enjoyable, but make it so you can step away when you're done. I mean, yeah, if you can't enjoy your food, you won't want to make those changes. You won't stick with it. I can tell you to have lean protein, broccoli and rice for every meal, and if you do it right, I mean, it'll probably work. But realistically, how long can a normal person survive off that? You need to make it so you can enjoy the food, but still keep track on what you're doing and really focus on eating something proper. So, I bet you're wondering, how did I make this matter for me? How did I make a plant-based diet work for me? As I said, I love to cook. Huge advantage. But I also learned valuable information when it came to food and the choices of food I had. Now, to me, I find that interesting. Most people don't want to hear about having leafy green vegetables like spinach, kale. That can give you iron. But pairing it with tomato and carrot, or even red capsicum, bell peppers, if you're from America and whatnot, the vitamin C in them will help increase your body's ability to absorb the iron in the greens. Now, to me, that's interesting. Then, I also learned it doesn't come down to meat for protein. In fact, rice and beans are a staple for a reason. The two things together have the complete combination of amino acids, and that forms your complete protein. But not only that, all those amino acids can be found in nearly every single whole food out there. I mean, and you don't need to have it all sat down in one meal. You can spread it out through your day. Some of it in the morning, some of it at night. Have it sprinkled in through your meals. So long as you have a balanced diet full of whole foods and a variety of foods, that does the trick. If you haven't heard it before, eat the rainbow. Having foods of a variety of colours. The colours are a key indicator to what nutrients they have. Gives you your vitamins, your minerals, and it really does. I think the more things of variety you can have, the better the benefit is to you. Now, was it always easy? No. Giving up some foods was harder than the others. I mean, cheese took me 4 months just to stop the cravings along the way. And yeah, if you're wondering, cheese is that addictive, and there has been studies. If you're interested, feel free to have a look into it. You'll be surprised. One thing I really never really took account of, the amount of fast foods that I would have to give up by going for a plant-based diet. Now that sucked at the beginning, but the advantage of living in Western Australia, there are less options for me than great fast food. So I had to learn to be adaptive. I had to learn to figure out how to make foods work for me. Now, there was one other downside to not having access to quick, easy food. I learned what junk food was plant-based. And I also learned how many junk foods contain things like milk and whatnot. But, you know, Oreos, barbecue flavored shapes, easy go-tos, right? So, that really made the consistency of staying healthy more difficult. But going on to a whole food diet changed that. It allowed me to start really focusing on nutrients. It allowed me to focus on quality food. And it helped me stay fuller. And it made me so I wasn't just overeating everything. I made this work by learning to calorie track. And that isn't for everyone. But for me, it does work. And I stand by it. Now, I use an app called Cronometer. And yeah, fine. For this one, I do pay. Now, Cronometer has the advantage of I can scan barcodes, and if it's in the system, it'll fill out it all for you. If it's not in the system, take a photo of the front of the package, take a photo of the nutritional information, and it will load it all in there for you. So, and when you do that, you enter in the weights of your product, you enter in custom foods, custom meals, and you can upload recipes from the internet. Most sites it will support. And voila, quick, easy to follow, and it tracks your proteins, your carbs, your fats. It will break down, it will show you all of those little things. It'll show you vitamins, your minerals, everything. And when I first started, I took the time to figure out what things I was getting, what things I wasn't getting, and deciding whether or not if I would need to add a supplement for such things. Now, everyone says B12. On a plant-based diet, you don't get your B12. Now, for me, that's actually not been my biggest issue. I use a product called nutritional yeast, and that tends to be quite highly fortified in B12. So that hasn't been my biggest issue. But there are some things, I tend to favor certain things, especially when I'm doing power bowls and all that kind of thing. So I've had to learn what I need, what I don't, and where I do struggle with. Yeah. So other than that, my biggest advices come from a few little tricks that I've learned. So I had to learn how to time my eating, my meals, and everything. I had to learn not to eat too late at night. And for me, that can be hard. I often stay up quite late, and it's when I feel productive and creative and able to do more housework. And yeah, so learning not to eat late at night, especially before I go to bed, was a big thing for me. Yeah, I also had to learn batch cooking. It made things easier. It made things so accessible to me. Cook a big batch up, put some in the fridge, split it up, put some in the freezer for later. Take it out. Now, it might not seem like it's going to be the funnest thing to do, especially when my next suggestion is having a few select staple meals. If you want to change up every couple weeks, change up every couple weeks, but have those meals, batch cook them up, have the same thing for 2, 3, 4 days in a row. Then have the next thing again, 3, 4 days in a row. And while this makes that food a little bit boring by the time you're 4 days in, it makes the next food feel exciting. And if you're tracking everything and if you're having it all easy to make, easy to go, then you make things a lot more excitable for you. Because you get to that point where you're like, I've had this one meal, 4 days. I've had 4 days of stir fry. Oh, well, what do you know? The next 4 days, I get tacos or burrito bowls or whatever you want to do. I mean, you get to that point and you can get excited for your next meal because it is different. And then same system. You get a few days in. All right, well, I've had this for a few days. Oh, well, look what I get next. It works for me. It really does. So, now I've said calorie tracking is important. And for those it works, it's. But it doesn't work if you don't know what calories you need to maintain, gain, and lose weight. And I had to learn the hard way. I mean, I've cut low on calories before, and my weight was stalled, and I couldn't figure out why. I was like, but I'm eating so little calories. I've got to be losing weight, right? No, I stalled my metabolism. I told my body that I'm not getting enough. I will not lose weight. I will store what I can. So I had to learn. In fact, to lose weight, I had to eat a little more than I thought. And that worked. Eating some more, giving it some time, slowly building up my calories again. Put my weight loss back into gear. And It was a matter of dialing in what range kept consistent weight loss going, and then not being afraid when it does stall, because it's going to. You're going to hit a plateau. And don't throw in the towel and don't go, well, what's the point? And just start consuming whatever you want. And don't panic and go, oh God, I need to cut more. No, this is natural. Now, my stalls generally go for 2 weeks, maybe 3. And I just got to ride it out. I get to a point, and then my body goes, okay, things are good. And it kicks off the progress again. So, it really comes down to what works for you. Have a go-to meal, something quick and easy. If you're stuck or you just need something, you can chuck in the microwave or oven. In fact, for me, pancakes are mine. Pancakes are easy. Throw a few ingredients in a bowl, mix it up, throw it in a pan. Now, I try not to do it too often, but in a pinch, I mean, it's a meal, it gets me going, and on days where I'm having a hard time, sometimes it's nice. For me, I've done low fat diets, I've done low carb diets, keto, gluten free, and I've done all this on a plant based diet. So you can imagine how that is. Now, these can work, but it honestly comes down to you, your personality, your preferences, and most importantly, what you can really stick to. Now, my advice to everybody would be a whole food diet, whether that be plant based or whether that be omnivorous. That's up to you. All right. Start with adding whole foods into your diet, removing some processed foods. From there, if you want to make modifications to a more specialty diet, that's okay. Now, think about it and really decide what your best course of action is. If you have had anything that has worked for you, or you have some tricks or tips for people who are struggling, drop a comment down below. I'd really love to hear what doesn't work for you, or things you've had troubles with yourselves. I would love for us to all just be able to help each other out. So, to sum it up, it is doable. Health, weight loss, focusing on nutrition, all of that is something that you can do. I mean, I learned. If I've learned something, anyone really can. Now, it doesn't come down to endless willpower. It doesn't come down to just saying no every single time. But it comes down to your commitment to making saying yes to things easy. Make it so easy that it becomes more effort to say no to something good. Eating whole foods, real actual foods, balance of protein, fats, and carbs. Your body can use all of them if you are doing it responsibly. And if you do want to go through a specialized diet, such as a keto, a plant-based, or anything, have a chat with your GP and let them keep an eye on how things are for you. Make sure that you are getting what you need and you have the right balance for you. Whatever you do, make it manageable and make it something you can live with. After all, you're the one going to be living with it. And please, don't go to these extremes. Make changes and don't be afraid to be wrong about it. You can modify things as you go. You can learn. I've both underestimated and overestimated myself with my journey. You, like me, we're all human. We will make mistakes. We'll have momentary slips. Now, if you've managed to make it this far, please comment about where you are on your journey. if you're just beginning, you're midway through, or if you've actually made it to where you want to be. Let me know what has and hasn't worked for you. If this has reached anything for you, or made you stop to think about what you are doing or what you want to do in the future, give the video a like. It helps more than you realize. Share this with your friends if you feel like it will help them. And if you enjoy this type of content, subscribe to this channel and check out some more of these videos. Have a good one. Until next time.